MVP.
Renters do every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that rent's due, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone, episode 106. No screw-ups on the intro tonight.
Yet.
Yeah, day late, dollar short, though. For those of you guys, we do appreciate you. For all you guys who were expecting us last night, there were some personal issues, and we weren't able to put a show on, but we are here tonight. You see, it is only the two of us, myself and Al Ryan. We do have a guest coming on, not the guest, but a guest coming on for segments 2 and 3. But we have a really, really star-studded episode tonight as far as topics go. So stay tuned, including our NFL quarterback rankings, which I'm sure Chris is probably going to be upset that he missed, Al.
Well, too bad. Show up, and then you can take part in the rankings. But yet, last year, he was the one that screwed it up last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, so the one person who's really happy that Chris is missing tonight is probably Mr. Brock Purdy.
Yes, 100%. He put Purdy in, like, the trash ranking.
The trash tier.
Right, and then he also had Jared Goff in like the GOAT tier, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Goff got lost in the mix somewhere along the line there. But we will do that in segment 2 tonight. But let's open it up right away, Al, unless you have something else that you want to get at here. Let me ask you this. How was hosting the show last week?
I mean, like, look, it was tough on a moment's notice. It's a different spot to be in because you're juggling not just only talking about the things you want to talk about as far as like, every week we write notes down that we want to mention on the show. Now I also have to think about, I have to kind of keep it moving, which is a whole different responsibility.
Yeah, there are certain times when you like want to start with your opinion and you got to bounce it off somebody else first. But you did a good job. I thought it was a really well done episode, especially again for kind of being a late scratch. So appreciate you stepping in there.
Yeah, thank you. I did have somebody tell me that I didn't do as good of a job of keeping guests in check with some of his monologues. But I got to ask you. You said that your favorite part of parenting is when you don't have to be a parent. Is your favorite part of podcasting when you don't have to podcast? Now that you finally missed a show after 104 episodes.
Nah, I was excited to give you guys a listen and see exactly what it was going to be like, but I missed it being here and shooting the shit with you guys.
Yeah,
there's nothing like it. It's the best part. Chris Style in the chat saying Mahomes better be number 1. Well, stay tuned, Chris, because we don't even know who's going to be number 1 yet.
Oh, well, yeah. Let me tell you, after last season too, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people dropping and people rising. Who knows?
Yep, the landscape has changed for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, but I want to jump into tonight's segment 1. We do keep it local for the first segment, but we're going to mix it up a little bit tonight because there's not a ton going on. But I wanted to talk specifically about Joel Embiid and the Olympic experience that he has coming up. So Joel Embiid is playing for Team USA for the first time in his career. He's been a little bit underwhelming in their first 2 scrimmages. The discourse across Twitter and the social media is, he shouldn't be starting. Anthony Davis should be starting. He's not a good fit with everything going on there. But again, it's just exhibition. It's early on. The real competition starts at, I believe it's the 28th is their first game. And he will be playing Serbia, so he'll match up with Nikola Jokic early. But I want to start it out with one big question for you, Al. What's more important, do you think? Joel Embiid's experience with this Olympic team or Joel Embiid's performance in the Olympics?
His experience. I don't think the performance matters one bit. And I'm also I'm pro-America. I'm American, right? I want us to do well at the Olympics. Men's basketball has always been the sport in the Olympics that I've always found it hardest to kind of root for America, only because I think some of it has to do with the Philly roots. of embracing an underdog role, which we've talked about many times on this show. And it's hard to root for a team. And I know that the rest of the world has definitely caught up with America in basketball, but we still are as close to a juggernaut as you can be in any of the sports, I think, in the Olympics. And especially, I think, in one that we watch. Instead, we watch a lot of basketball. So for me, it's the experience, because I want him to see what it's like to play with winners. And I want him to be able to see what the locker room is like, see what, when you get into a dogfight, maybe in a gold medal game or in a semifinal game, to see what it's like to put your foot on the gas and get that little extra bit out of you, so that maybe he can bring that with him then to this upcoming season with the 76ers and take on more of a leadership role because of what he's learned from his experience at the Olympics.
So I originally thought the same as you, but I've done a full 360. I'm 100% on board with not only his performance being more important, but his performance being extremely important as we move forward in regards to the future of the Philadelphia 76ers and the future of Joel Embiid. I think it's extremely, extremely vital. Let me go through my three main questions as to why. First and foremost, I've always been a proponent on here when we've had the Embiid discourse with Chris of saying, I think Joel Embiid can be the best player on a championship team, but I don't think he can be the main offensive piece because of all the things that happened to him in the playoffs. This is an opportunity to see how Joel Embiid can play on a team where the offense is not run through him, and he is not being that offensive weapon that is used on 80% of possessions, 90% of possessions. And I'm not saying that's his usage rate. I'm just saying as far as setting screens, being the main hub of an offense, where there's going to be possessions where he's not going to be involved in the play, whether it's a LeBron, Steph pick and roll, or some sort of isolation for a Jason Tatum or an Anthony Edwards, where he's going to have to just, maybe he's that defensive hub for a game. Maybe it's his job to just clean the glass for a game, and he's only going to get 8, 9, 10 shots as opposed to the 22, 23 that he gets for the Sixers. And how does he adapt to that, not only as a player, but as his personality, because we know what can happen to him when things aren't going his way. So I think that is the first point, is how is he going to adapt to being the guy who's just not the usage guy all the time? I think that's number one. Number two, and we've seen this already a little bit in the scrimmages. I don't know how much you've watched. How is Joel Embiid going to adjust to the FIBA officiating? Because the FIBA officiating is a lot different than the NBA stuff. They don't go for the flopping and the what do they call it? The foul merchant type stuff, the pulling the arms through. He's had a couple of flops already that have not been called on his end. So how is he going to respond to that? Is that going to all of a sudden make him want to just get buckets as opposed to trying to get to the line? How efficient is he going to be with that? Is that something that, if it works, can he take that into the NBA, where he doesn't need to all of a sudden go for contact every single time? He can get easier buckets. That's point number two. And number three, can Joel Embiid play in big games with a lot on the line and be the guy that he's supposed to be? That's the end of the end game. You could say USA is supposed to be the team to beat. They are 100%. You have Steph Curry, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid. I'm probably missing Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards. I can go on, Kevin Durant, go on and on. But at the end of the day, they're going to get tested at some point along the line, whether it's Serbia, whether it's Canada, whether it's Spain, or one of these teams that has guys. And can Joel Embiid step up in those big moments where we haven't done it for us, even though he's not necessarily have to, given the rest of the roster? But is he going to have a moment? Is he going to have that, hit that big shot or take over that fourth quarter that can lead him to believe that he can be that guy? So those are my big three questions as far as Joel Embiid's performance. And I'm curious to hear your feedback on any of the three, or whether you agree or disagree on any of that discourse.
I think I like, you make good points, and I don't disagree wholeheartedly with any of them. But I think my initial reaction as I'm listening to your points is I think it would be expecting too much to see him perform a certain way in these Olympic Games, and to see him take that with him as far as the way he plays the game in the NBA. Like, I think it's too late to expect Joel Embiid to be able to change the way he plays for the 76ers at this point in his career. In 3 or 4 years down the line, if he's still a Sixer or wherever he might be at that point, then I think, yes, we're going to see, he's going to have to change his game because his body's going to be completely broken down at that point. He's not going to be an MVP caliber player at that point, but he still is right now. So he knows that when October rolls around and he puts on a Sixers jersey, he's going to revert back to that same, what's gotten him here, in my opinion, regardless of what happens this summer. I like what you're saying. I just don't believe that it's going to affect his play in the NBA.
But I think the point, Al, is what's gotten him here has not gotten him anywhere. So now you bring in Paul George, you bring in Tyrese Maxey, and is it now time for Joel Embiid to say, I need to lessen my offensive load? The Sixers' offense has become too predictable with what we run now. We have enough offensive weapons. We've gotten Tobias Harris out of the picture, and we have a guy who is supposed to be able to carry some of the load here in Paul George. And maybe now that I can see how this works without me having to need the ball all the time, is that something that we can implement, not to the same degree that they're going to do it in the Olympics, but to points where it's, you know what, maybe tonight it's Tyrese's night. Maybe for the second quarter, it's Paul George's night. And I don't need to demand the ball all the time I don't need to lead the league in scoring this year. I don't need to take 25 shots a night. I can pace myself more. Is that something we can see? And after you follow that up, I want to twist it on itself as well before
we know that, and smart fans know that and can see that. And if Chris were here right now, I know that he would be arguing against this, saying that he could be that guy. But we know he's not that guy. We've seen it as recently as just this past playoffs when they got knocked out. What did he say on the podium? He immediately turned it around and blamed the rest of the team. Well, you got me and Tyrese, and then you got everybody else, and everybody else needs to step up sometimes. Now, at the same point, he is the same guy that before he went down this season, what did he average? 50 a game for a stretch of 3 weeks or whatever it was. I'm probably off on the numbers there. But he's still the guy. There's no one in that locker room, there's no one in that organization that's going to tell him otherwise yet. And I think until that happens, because you do see the extreme decrease in what he's able to do on the court, I don't think we can expect him to have that maturity and to be able to make those decisions. I don't see it, not yet.
Well, that goes to your point as far as the experiences of this Olympics is, will he see that playing with these guys?
Right.
That's because I agree with you otherwise. I still don't think he has the maturity to do it himself. So we will see if this experience all of a sudden flips it on itself and allows him to be that guy. Here's the flip side. What happens if he's a total failure in these Olympics? What happens if it's playoff Joel all over again? Is all of a sudden now the confidence killed? What do we as Sixers fans have to take from that? What if he's not playing fourth quarters and Anthony Davis is playing over him because he's not fitting in, or he's not making the right plays? How do we take that? Do we need to take that seriously if that happens?
I think it almost gets masked, honestly, because he's playing alongside. Was it a 15-man roster?
Yeah, but you say that the Twitter discourse yesterday was terrible. People were ripping him.
Dude, but we know also that Joel Embiid hater Twitter is huge. Like, that might be the biggest population of hater Twitter in the NBA.
True.
People love to hate Joel Embiid. So I think that they will tear him apart. I don't necessarily think that Philadelphia fans will. I think we'll give him a little bit of a pass.
So do you think Joel, in his own mind, feels he has any failures in regards to these playoffs? Do you think is it a facade that he puts up? The confidence, the bravado. Does he think that any of these playoff dips are related to him? Do you think?
No, I really don't.
So you don't think he's reading this Twitter stuff and it's sitting in his head at all?
I think it bothers him, but I don't think he truly believes any of it.
Do you think he's sitting there thinking, "Oh, my knee was hurt. That's why I didn't play well. I couldn't move."
Yes. I think there's always an excuse. I mean, there's probably guys that he played with that he at least has the wherewithal to not throw guys under the bus by name yet. But there's probably guys he played with, like Tobias is one of them, where he wants to come out and say, look what you guys did. You signed Tobias Harris to a max deal. You saddled me with this jamoke for 4 years, 5 years. Like, he probably wants to say that. That's probably part of his, like,
he wouldn't be wrong. He wouldn't be wrong.
No, he wouldn't be. He wouldn't be.
But at the same time, and again, I don't want to turn this into a Joel discourse. You've had 3 guys. We can talk Ben Simmons in regards to what he's become and what he is. Ben Simmons did not enjoy playing with Joel Embiid. Right. By all accounts, Jimmy Butler enjoyed playing with Joel Embiid, but did not hesitate to leave the Philadelphia 76ers. James Harden, by all accounts, liked playing with Joel Embiid, but did not hesitate to leave the 76ers. Now, there were other issues at hand for all of that, but by no means were these guys loyal enough to the point where they were like, we got to play with Joel. So the Sixers have made some mistakes, but Joel has not been able to rope in these guys until, a Paul George comes on board. And you could credit that to him bringing them in or the Clippers completely butchering that situation, because I don't know if you listen to Paul George's podcast. The negotiations between them and the Clippers did not really – it was very, very sketchy. Right. It did not seem like the Clippers wanted him back, right, is what I took from that. So I'm just curious how much of that is the Sixers and how much of it is, again, guys wanting to play with Joel.
But you know what else it is? And we make a lot of wrestling analogies on this show. I can't help myself. I think it's a lot also like late 90s, early 2000s WWF and WCW, where when you hear interviews, you hear guys talk about the guys that went from WCW to WWF, and they talk about how WCW was an absolute, just a disaster as far as the management, the organization, the way things were run. It was the inmates running the asylum kind of thing. I think that's the Sixers, man. We talk about it a lot, how organizationally the Sixers are a mess and they're a loser franchise and they make bad decisions. I mean, the Colangelo thing, there's a million things you could bring up, right? And Joel Embiid just happens to be maybe the Sting of WCW. That's, you know what I mean? He's the superstar. Guys probably loved working with Sting, but at the end of the day, that wasn't enough to keep them in that dumpster fire of an organization. I don't know. Let me flip it on you real quick, Adam. What do you think the response will be if Joel Embiid goes out and has just an absolute monster run in these Olympics, MVP status run?
I think you will see the Sixers preseason hype max out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It will be.
Chris will renew the tickets.
Yeah, it will be. The Sixers have surpassed Boston. They're the team to beat. Joel Embiid is the guy. And at the end of the day, you and I both know, first of all, he's got to stay healthy, which is a huge question mark upon itself. And B, I mean, listen, as a Sixers fan, I hope it's the thing that he needs to make that next step and to be that guy in big games. So I'm hoping that he balls out in the Olympics and does his thing and finds himself in those big moments and comes through. I'm rooting for that, and that can be the pedestal to move him forward to be what he needs to be in the big moments for the Sixers. That would be ideal. But I do think if that happens, the Sixers preseason momentum would take a big jump.
Yeah, I agree. No, I hope we at least get a couple games where he goes out there and really just dominates.
I mean, him and Jokic in the first game is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. That's going to be must-see TV.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, anything else before we kind of move on here? We're going to add something to segment 1 tonight because we had to fit it in the show before our guest comes on for segment 2. But anything else before we close out? You have any interest in the Olympics? I know we talked sporting events last week.
I do like watching some of the stuff. I actually was watching a clip of some of the Olympic qualifying. I think it was Olympic qualifying. Synchronized diving. Dude, I love some of these things that you only see at the Olympics. Some of the track and field events, some of the swimming and diving events, the gymnastics events, I think are great. One thing that I know we'll probably touch on it again later, so I won't get too into it. I still can't get into Olympic golf. I don't know that I ever will be able to get into it, but no, I enjoy the Olympics. Where are you at?
No, I'm out on the Olympics. So it would have been on my overrated list last week when we were talking about it. To me, if I'm flipping through my cable channels right now, and I'll give you swimming, track and field, curling, if we're in the wintertime, luge, I'm never turning it on.
Yeah, but here's the difference. The Olympics are going to be live at 3 a.m. here. So if you're up overnight with Hayden or you're up early in the morning with Hayden, that's the opportunity to throw on, hey, let me throw on the Olympic Games. Let me see what's on at 5 a.m.
But that's the exception to the rule of being up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't in the middle of the night, I'd much rather watch a baseball game than I would an Olympic, again, synchronized diving. It doesn't entertain me enough to jog my interest. I watch some of the basketball because of Joel, but in general, like you said, I'm not a huge Olympic basketball guy either. I actually just saw popped up on my screen as I have the All-Star game on in the background. USA Serbia scrimmage tomorrow at noon is on TV. So a little preview of Jokic and Embiid tomorrow.
All right. Do you think they'll hit the court at the same time? I don't.
Yeah, they'll start.
No, he's going to come right out. He's going to be after 2 minutes.
2 foul, offensive foul, and then a tech.
Be great.
He did foul out of the first game.
Yeah, in like 12 minutes, right?
That's not his style either. He's usually pretty good at not being a foul guy.
That's awful.
All right, listen, for the rest of segment 1, let's jump into the Open Championship. We get just the two of us. We're both big golf guys. The Open this weekend. Where does it rank for you for the majors?
I do have it above the PGA. I think the PGA is clearly 4. I have it slightly under the U.S. Open, slightly under.
Okay.
For me, the Open Championship is too reliant on weather. It is absolutely day and night. If there's no wind and no blustering rain and all that, then these guys eat these courses up. So it's too much of you don't know what you're going to get, and it's only because of weather. It doesn't have to really do with the course.
Yeah, it's number 4 for me, and it's pretty much number 4 by far. I'm just not a fan. First of all, I don't love the fact that you can't watch all of it because it's on at 3 a.m. So I, me, I'm a big golf guy. I want to watch everybody play. So Thursday and Friday, you're really not getting a chance to see all the groups go out. Nothing you can do about that. That's just a time zone factor. But B, I just don't think the courses play as visually to me as some of the other courses. I think these guys are hitting tee shots, and you're not sure, is it in the trees? Is it in the fescue? Where's it going? I just don't think visually it's as pleasing as a U.S. Open or even a PGA Championship or obviously the Masters for sure. I just don't love the golf courses the way they set up. And like you said, there are a little weather dependent. So for me, it's far away number 4. I know a lot of people, that's an unpopular take. A lot of people really enjoy the Open.
Well, yeah, the Open is for the real true diehards. I mean, you and I are big golf fans, but I'm not like a golf historian. And I think that when you're talking about the Open Championship, you're talking about these courses like Royal Troon, where we're at this year, that has the history behind it, the postage stamp hole 8. Like I'm sure a lot of people, listening might not even know what that is. But that's like basically Royal Troon's 17th at TPC at the Players. But yeah, they're back at Royal Troon though, Adam. Do you like the course? What do you think about the course? Any thoughts?
So again, a lot of these courses blur together for me when we talk about the Rota.
Yeah.
I do remember the duel in 2016 between Stenson and Mickelson. The final round was an absolute classic. Yep. I believe those guys fired a best ball 59 if you combine their scorecards. And that's on a day, I think, when the average score was 75.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Those guys went neck and neck, and Stenson obviously pulls it out to win that event. I think that there is some differences. I was looking at some stuff today. There are particularly smaller greens compared to some of the other, open courses. You go to St. Andrews, and they're on the double greens pretty much on every hole. These greens are a lot smaller for link-style golf. The weather is supposed to roll in at least a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a disaster, but I see 15 to 20-mile-an-hour winds kind of throughout the week with a 50 to 60% chance of showers throughout. So I do think we'll have some weather. I'm just curious as to how it plays. But in general, like I said, I'm not in love with any of these golf courses on the road. Even St. Andrews, like I get the history, I get this and that. I just don't love watching it outside. Like the road hole's cool, the last hole is pretty cool, but again, the last hole and the first hole, it's like hitting it onto a baseball field.
Yeah, it's crazy how big it is.
Yeah, it's insane. Even you can hit that fairway.
I don't know about that. But Troon has done a couple things since it was the British Open was last year in 2016. Did you see there's now a 623-yard par 5, the 6th hole? And I don't know if you saw the video today, but one golfer who you're going to hear about a little bit later on in this portion of the segment went ahead and drove a ball on that green 449 yards. Now, obviously, wind at his back, but that's still a little bit ridiculous. So I don't know. I don't know that this course is going to present much of a challenge to the guys that don't get with that weather. And so that's why I know we're going to give our picks out. I think it's safe to say that all of our picks are weather dependent. Like I'm a big, when I place wagers on any tournament, but especially the British Open, I check the tee times and I check the weather. Because if I got a guy that's going to be going off, PM on Thursday and the weather's supposed to roll in PM I'm out. I'm out on those guys. I'm going to shit.
But the problem is the weather over there is so unpredictable.
It is unpredictable to a point, but if you see something along the lines of a storm is going to blow in at 12 noon, and all of a sudden the wind gusts are going to be up to 40 and 50 miles an hour, I get that it's still going to be intermittent. It's almost like when it storms in Florida, it comes and goes. But those guys are going to have a much more likely chance of getting hit with that 60-mile-an-hour gust than the guys in the AM.
Sure, the draw is of utmost importance whenever weather is involved. So you're right. Again, I think the tee times came out earlier today, but you can't look at a forecast this far in advance. You really need to look at it tomorrow night to know exactly what's going to happen as far as a draw goes. But it is a huge part of what's going on.
The one funny tee time that I wanted to mention before we start going through some of the guys we like here is that, did you see who Tiger's with?
Is it Cantlay and Xander, the BFFs?
It is. They wanted to keep Tiger out there as long as they could, just in case he doesn't make the cut. So you put him out there with Patty Ice.
I saw the Tiger fanboys go crazy. They showed that one shot on the par 3 that he hit, and people are just jumping right on board, man.
Yeah. Doesn't take much.
Like, oh well, this is a good setup for Tiger. Dude, it's a good setup.
A lot of the pundits are saying that it could be a Tiger week.
Get out of here. Speaking of weeks, I'm curious to see who you're on, because I always have the most trouble predicting the Open Championship because of the Masters, right? We talked about it earlier this year. Horses for courses. Right. Guys who play well at the Masters play well at the Masters all the time. The U.S. Open, you could take out 2/3 of the field. 2/3 is not even right. You take out 4/5 of the field right away because they just don't have what it takes to win a U.S. Open, whether it's the length or the speed through the rough or the ability to play certain greens like it was at Pinehurst this year. The PGA Championship has gotten to that a little bit where they're playing this high rough now, like it was at Oak Hill 2 years ago, where you have like the Koepka long hitter is kind of what they're at. The Open's different, man, especially if there's no weather. It's a wide open field, and it doesn't have to be a star. We've seen Brian Harman win last year. We saw Shane Lowry win in 2019. Yep. Some other winners in the past. I know Morikawa's won here, which was not to be expected because it's not really his style of golf. So there's been a lot of off the wall winners in past years. It's a very difficult event to predict.
The last 4 winners at Troon were all first time major winners. So if you're looking, what's that?
You have the list. Obviously, Stenson was the last one.
Justin Leonard was one. I can't remember the other two. So if you're looking, at a guy, if you're looking for a guy that is does not have a lot of experience in a major, this could be maybe the tournament to do it at. Which again, I have a guy that you know who I'm talking about at this point that I'll be bringing up in a second with our picks. I wanted to just ask you 2 questions about guys, and we can keep this quick, Adam. Top 5 on the betting board. You got Scheffler, you got Rory, you got Xander, you got Morikawa, and you got Bryson. Just in a minute or less, who do you trust the most out of that group? Who do you trust the least out of that group? That's a hell of a group.
I mean, the answer is obviously Scotty.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, Scotty had one bad week at Pinehurst where he really, really struggled with the flat stick, and those greens are as unique as it gets. I believe he bounced back, and did he win the Travelers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he bounces back the next week and wins again. The guy's got 5 or 6 wins this year. From a ball striking, I mean, you look at the other guys you name. Okay, Rory McIlroy has a great history at the Open, but really blew his load at the U.S. Open. We'll see how he bounces back. He played well at the Scottish last week. I trust him to do well, but we've seen Rory have the blow-ups more than we have with Scotty. Bryson doesn't have the
chops.
The Open, no, he has the chops. We've seen that. He has the chops. He doesn't have the Open Championship history that these other guys do. He has not played well there. The wind and stuff like that can be a factor for him.
But that's what I was going to say is he doesn't have the chops in the British Open because he only has one top 10. He's missed a couple cuts, so he plays very differently in link style. He's not.
Now the Bryson we've seen this year has been different altogether. So
I agree.
But again, we're talking about the elite of who I trust the most. Who are the other two?
You got Xander and Colin.
I mean, Xander's been great all year. It's hard not to say he's probably my number 2. But so he's been great all year. I don't really have anything bad to say. I just like Scotty more. And Morikawa is one of the biggest names that you're going to hear all week. There's a lot of pundits that are on Colin. His form over the past 2 months has really jumped back into, elite status as far as his iron play and his strokes gained, ball striking. But the one caveat to Colin Morikawa is that he struggles in the wind. And you could say that he won an Open Championship in 22, and that's correct. But if you go back and look, that was one of the mildest Open Championships of all time. There wasn't a breath of wind the year he won it. So for me, I don't trust Morikawa in a wind-based environment, even if he's playing well, especially when you want to compare him to the best players in the world. So for me, I would go my Scotty for my most trust. I'm going to go Morikawa for my least trust, even though he's a hot name on the market right now.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not. Look, Scotty has to be your most trusted, no matter what course you're on, no matter what part of planet Earth you're on. You could be not on planet Earth, and he's got to be your most trusted golfer to win a tournament. And I think DeChambeau, I don't trust him this weekend. It's because of some of the things you were talking about with him struggling with links golf. I think I'm most interested to see how Colin plays, though, because he missed the last 2 cuts. He's kind of become a major hunter in my eyes with the way he performed this year at the majors. So I'm interested to see what he can do.
He played well last week, but he kind of fell off on Sunday at the Scottish.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with some long shots. So these don't have to be. These can be guys you're throwing a couple dollars on outright, but really more probably top 10, top 5 guys that you're looking at. So let me throw a couple at you, Al, and see what you think. I'll start. I'm going to give you a guy first, and then the second guy, I'm going to give you some stats and see if you can name who it is. I'll start with Shane Lowry. Top 5 it would be what I would look at here. He's 6-1 to finish in top 5. He's got 8 top 10s in majors since 2014, which is basically 1 per year. He's playing really well. He's got a win this year. If you count the Zurich Classic, he got a win. But we've always seen he has the chops to stay in there when he plays well, and he hit it really well last week at the Scottish. We saw him at the U.S. Open go head-to-head with DJ for a little while. If Shane Lowry gets hot in these conditions, we saw him run away with the Open in 2019. I just like him to stay competitive, especially if the weather turns.
Look, I never thought he would have won 1 major. I just can't see a world in which Shane Lowry goes down with 2 majors.
I said top 5.
Yeah, that's fine. I have no problem with top 5 for Lowry because he is a guy, especially at the Open.
All right, let me ask you this question right here. What if I could give you a golfer at 75-1?
Okay.
Who has these results since April?
It's going to be Spieth.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
These results since April. T12, T4, T9, T8, T3, T12, T4.
I got one more guess. Is it Corey Connors?
It's not Corey Connors.
Is it he won? Is it man, you got me.
So I'm gonna go again. 12th, 4th, 9th, 8th, 3rd, 12th, 4th. Those are the numbers for Sung J M. Now, here's the caveat to what I gave you there. In that stretch, he has 3 missed cuts that I did not mention. The 3 missed cuts are the Masters, the PGA Championship, and the U.S. Open.
Oh, I hate that. He's going for the Sung J Slam.
So, but we've seen Sung J play well in majors before. He has done it. He played well at the Scottish last week. Listen, at the end of the day, 75-1. If you want him for a top 10, I think he's like 4.4 plus 410. With those numbers, I think giving him a top 10 is not the worst bet in the world.
Yeah, but you talk about a guy who can struggle in weather because his irons, he launches those puppies into the air, man. That wind would eat those balls up. I'm out on Sung J this year.
I like him. I like the way he's playing. I think he's worth a shot. Sung J M, keep an eye on him. And here's my last long shot for you. And this is an outright and a guy that nobody's talking about. And, maybe I'm a sucker because I buy in all the time. Jon Rahm's 25-1. You have any interest in Jon Rahm?
Yeah, I do. I don't hate that at all. I actually thought he was lower than that on the odds.
Okay, I looked earlier today, so it could have changed.
But yeah, no, I don't mind that at all. Look, he doesn't look happy on live, but he's still a threat to win a major anytime he tees it up. So as long as he's healthy, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, and look, he hasn't played well in the 2 majors so far this year. He obviously did not play in the U.S. Open because of the toe injury. But believe it or not, if you look at his live numbers, I don't think he's had a tournament where he's been outside the top 10 and live. So again, he doesn't look happy. I agree with you, but I don't think maybe he's putting too much pressure on himself in these majors because he's, not on tour or this and that. But he's got the game to do it. I mean, you just mentioned the top 5 guys. Who do you trust the most and who you trust the least? And I can't imagine a world where we were having that conversation last year without mentioning John Rahm.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You got any long shots?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief here. I think Jordan Spieth, he's at 80-1 in some books. He's starting it. He's driving the ball fine. He's starting to hit his irons better. He's starting to putt a little bit better. He has a win at the Open Championship. I think he has 5 or 6 top 10s at the Open. I just think that number is too high for a guy with the pedigree. Call me a sucker. That's fine. I haven't won a golf bet in 2 years, so don't expect to win one here. Another guy.
You can burn that money. Spieth not winning nothing.
Another guy like that's long in the odds is Louis Oosthuizen. I think he's another guy that just fits the mold. I'd love to see him win. He obviously he infamously has the 4 runner-ups in the 4 majors. So I like Louis. I think you can get him at like 90 or higher, which is not a bad number.
I'm hearing a lot of Louis hype.
Yeah, me too, which I don't like. I don't like when I like a guy and then all of a sudden the world likes him as well. And obviously I'm not saying it's because I like him, but when you like someone and then you see everyone likes him, that to me is a red flag. I don't like that. And then let me open up the actual picks here. This guy isn't really too much of a long shot because it depends on the book. I think my book had him at 50, and I've been a sucker for him all season, man. But when I talk about a guy who could win his first major, Tony Finau at 50-1. Strokes gained, he's 8th this season. His approach, he's 3rd. The only thing he doesn't do is putt well, but the only other thing he doesn't do well is he seems to always put the ball in the water at inopportune times, and that's not a problem at Royal Troon. There's no water.
That's not true. There's the what's it called? The brook.
It's gone. So we got Tony Finau at 50-1. He tied 18th in 2016, which was his debut. He's made 6 of 7 cuts this year. 50-1 odds. He's my first pick.
I like Finau. I don't have him in my top 3, but I do think, again, I would put a top 10 or top 5 there. I just don't know. Does Finau have the cojones to close it out?
No, and he's done it a couple times this season already where on a Sunday he's folded at some of the lesser events.
Gotcha. So that's your pick, huh?
That's one of my picks. He's my value pick. My pick is yet to come.
Okay, let's go to our picks. I have a bronze, silver, and a gold for my picks. So I got 3 picks, and I'll do them in order. I mean, how many do you have?
Just 2.
Just 2? All right, I'll do my bronze, and then you can do your silver, and we'll rotate. My bronze is somebody you're not going to love. I have Patrick Cantlay.
No, out.
As a bronze. I just think he's having a bad year, but the last 2 tournaments he's really started to peak in regards to his form, and we've seen a lot of the ball striking and the putting for Cantlay. He's coming off his best major finish in his career. He finished 3rd in the U.S. Open. He also finished 9th at the PGA last year. So a lot of the bugaboos he had early in his career as far as majors go, he started to get away from. He saw his buddy Xander win a major when a lot of people didn't think he could last year. I think there's some value in Patrick Cantlay, and I'm looking at the FanDuel odds now to see exactly where he is. But you can get Patrick Cantlay at 45-1, and I just think he's worth the risk. And I think he's a guy who can handle the weather conditions if he had to. So Cantlay's my bronze pick. He's my 3rd, but he's a distant 3rd, I would say.
Yeah, nothing. I have nothing to say about that. You know how I feel about Patrick Cantlay.
I don't like him either, but I just
can't do it. I only have 2 picks. So Finau would be my silver pick. If you want me to give you a bronze pick, it's the obligatory Jason Day pick at 125-1. So go ahead and give us your silver.
All right. Well, I think my silver is your gold from what you were saying earlier. There is a guy who, even though he has struggled on Sundays since the Masters, Ludwig Aubert is a guy who has been peaking all year on tour. He has been one of the best ball strikers on tour. He's the up-and-coming star, obviously, from Texas Tech. Just seems prime. He hasn't won yet, but he's been in the mix for all the majors this year. I just think he's a guy, again, was in the mix at the Scottish last week, wasn't able to pull it out. I think he's at 74 on Sunday. So the final round stuff is a little concerning, but when a guy hits the ball the way he hits it, that's going to get figured out at some point. And I'm not overly concerned. He has momentum rolling in. Obviously, he has the European background. He's played plenty of golf in these conditions. I like Ludwig Aubert. You probably have the odds. I didn't write down his odds, but I'm sure it's probably something like 20-1.
He's very low. He's 16-1 right now on FanDuel, which I hate. Look, he came in second at the Masters to Scottie Scheffler. He led the U.S. Open for the first 2 rounds before finishing in a tie for 12th in his first and third majors of his career. He does have a win under his belt, Adam. He won the RSM Classic back in November, one of those jobber events.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Whether or not you want to count that as a win,
Win is a win.
That's up to you. But look, he's 5th in strokes gained in the last 32 rounds. That's only behind Scotty, Xander, Rory, and Colin. He's a ball striker. He's an all right putter, but he's a guy that I think, being from Europe, he's Swedish, like the last champion at Troon, Henrik Stenson, who he said it should have been a national holiday the day when he won the Open Championship. So a little bit of a golf historian, has some respect for his brothers from Sweden. But he can play in bad weather. He can play in good weather. He can win this thing if it's a grind out, or he can win this thing if it's a birdie fest. So I really, really like him at 16-1. I'll eat a little bit because he probably realistically should be in the 25 to 30 range. But given his performances this year in majors, I can see why he's 16-1.
All right. So you have him as your number 1 pick.
He's my guy this week.
Okay. I'm going to go give you my number 1 pick. I got a guy. Let's see if you can name this guy. This guy finished 5th the last time the Open was at Troon in 2016. He has finished in the majors this year. The U.S. Open, he finished the Masters, he was 9th. PGA had a rough one, he's 63rd. But U.S. Open, he finished 26th. So middle of the pack there, but a decent major season. He is a live golfer.
It's your boy. Is it your boy Brooks?
No, it's not Brooks.
Okay.
He finished 3rd this past week at Live in Spain. He won in June on the Live Tour in Nashville. He's played in the Open Championship 8 times. He's missed the cut twice, Al, but in the other 6 tournaments, he's finished in the top 25 every year, including being in the top 10 3 times. That is, one more guess.
Tyrrell Hatton.
Yep. That's going to be my pick this week. A guy who, again, is playing very good golf. I mentioned won the Live tournament in June, finished 3rd last week, has a European background, has played in the conditions. A guy who I think also has the mentality to win a major. He's only won 1 PGA Tour event, but it was the Arnold Palmer Invitational, which is a slugfest, a hard-nosed event. I just think he is due. I think he's playing well. You can get him. I was just looking at 28-1. I definitely think he's in the mix this week, and a guy that I really, really like.
I like Tyrrell Hatton this week as well. I am going to reshift, though. I might have to rethink some things after we both had Ludwig in our picks. Yeah. We're gonna have to consult the golf guy guests when we get off the pod.
That's true. Although he's just going to give us Victor Hovland again.
But no, look, I'm looking forward to it. I don't mind the early start. I like on Sunday being able to watch the final round end at like 2:00.
That's nice. I agree with that.
Yeah. So I'm excited though. I'm excited for the last major of the year.
Me too. It's been a good major season for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So that'll end segment 1 tonight. We're going to jump into segment 2, the segment a lot of you guys have been looking forward to, our QB tier rankings. But Al, do you want to introduce our guest for our next segment?
So we have coming onto the show is a friend of mine, a friend of the pod. So, you guys have heard the name Matt McConaughey a few times. We have Matt's cousin, Uncle Brian Schrader. Uncle Brian, welcome to the pod. How's it going?
Good, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Uncle Brian, Adam, is actually a Hers potato chip guy.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this, and I've told him in the past how the Hers Red Hot is my favorite chip, and it's your favorite chip as well.
No, false.
Well, it was at one point.
It was at one point, but the Utz Red Hot has taken over. Now, the Hers is still good, and no problem with the Hers, but Utz is the superior chip in my mind.
How do you feel about Brian? How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't know you were going to trick me on here to start ranking the potato chips. I thought we were talking ranking sports. I didn't think we were ranking potato chips.
Well, listen, when you have an expert in the field, you got to exhaust that knowledge. So I thought that I would. Adam's not very good at this, though. We have guests on, and the first thing he does is insult the guest. So, we want to have people back. So we're hoping that you didn't take that to heart, that Utz comment.
Brian's got a lot of time to make up for the potato chip issue.
Brian,
No, I won't hold anything against you.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean?
give us a quick like background as far as you're just like your Philly sports fan. You're a 4-for-4 guy, right? As far as Philly sports go.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan as far as I can remember. I mean, I'm 42 now, so I mean, I've been a fan since I don't know, since 4 years old, I guess, when I could start actually knowing what's going on. So I remember, the Buddy Ryan Eagles. I remember the '93 Phillies. I remember, obviously the Ray Rose Eagles, the Andy Reid, and you know what I mean. And then for the Sixers, I'm a big Sixers guy. Barkley, AI, who's my favorite athlete of all time. Flyers, I was real into the Flyers, during the Lindros, LeClaire era. So like I got, some decent knowledge about all this kind of stuff.
All right,
well, we're going to put it to the test. Yeah, we're going to put it to the test here.
All right, so I don't know if Al gave you a little bit of a rundown of what we're going to do, but for those of our fans who didn't deal with us last year for this segment, we're going to give you guys the rundown as well. So this is what makes this interesting, is we are going to rate the quarterbacks in different tiers. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to name a quarterback, and we're going to start from the bottom. I'll name a quarterback, and then Al will name a quarterback, and then Brian can name a quarterback. At any point in time, if you want to change tiers before you name the next guy, you have to say close the tier. And so we can talk about exactly how, the different names of the tiers. Al put trash. If you're watching live on YouTube, that's what we will start with.
Okay.
So it'll be a little bit easier as we go along. But if you're ready, so we're going to start naming our quarterbacks that we feel are trash. And if you're ready to name somebody you think is slightly above trash, you would just say close the tier.
Okay.
You good, Brian? All right, so I'll start it off, and we'll go meet Al. Actually, let's start with Brian. Brian's the guest. Yeah. Brian, why don't you lead us off with your bottom tier and throw somebody in the trash?
We're going to throw Zach Wilson in the trash.
No, we're not. Zach Wilson's a backup this year. We can't put him in the trash.
Is he real? I thought he might start for the Broncos because what do they got? Bo Nix is their rookie.
I think we can put. Listen, I'm fine going Broncos quarterback in the trash since we don't know who's going to start there. You want to go Broncos quarterback?
We'll just go all Broncos QBs.
Yeah, because it could be any of those guys. I agree with that.
You're off to a hot start, Bri.
Well, no, that's your fault, Al, because I gave you a list of the guys we were doing. If you sent it over there, that's on you.
It's not my fault. I sent him the list. He has the list.
That's on you, Brian.
Yeah, you know what? That was my fault then. I didn't look at the list. I made my own list.
These hers guys, man.
Yeah.
You're going to be hearing about this in the group text, boy.
Well, yeah, of course I will be, yeah.
All right, Al, hit us with one of yours.
All right, my next trash. And I also, to be kind, like when I ranked these, I had it, the label was should be a backup. So I'm gonna throw the obvious. Gardner Minshew is in this category.
Okay.
I
don't think you're respecting Gardner enough. Like he did a decent job last year.
You want him starting for your team for 17 games?
No, but I think he's above some of these guys we're going to list in this tier.
How many games is Gardner Minshew going to lose you over the course of a season as your starting quarterback?
What was the Colts record last year? Let's take a look.
What's he doing? Starting for the Raiders?
Yeah, he's a Raider now, but I'm trying to find the Colts records. They were borderline playoffs last year. Listen, I'm not gonna go out on a limb for Gardner Minshew. I just think it's a little bit disrespect.
I have another guy that I want to put in this category. I don't know if he's going to make it now though, but I was more comfortable with this other guy being in the category above.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I didn't want to get this closed out without Minshew in there.
The beauty of this exercise is that he's in there now. That we can't take him out.
Yeah, he's in there. You can't. Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right. I'll put a guy in the trash who's not only trash, but he's a rich guy in the trash because he's making $40 million this year. That's Daniel Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Not only trash, but rich and injured. So Daniel Jones, to me, is a guy that we're going to throw in trash. And to be fair, we're projecting this year. Like, we're not projecting out past as far as, future or whatever. Not that I would remove Daniel Jones from that category, but as far as rookies or whatever go.
Did you see, though, somebody compared his stats to Trevor Lawrence's stats? And they were like,
in what categories?
Like yardage, touchdowns, interceptions, like all like the key quarterback stats, they were pretty much identical.
Well, as far as last year goes, I did do like a little like math equation with all this. And like Daniel Jones is like average of like where he stood as far as like yards, touchdowns, and then quarterback rating. He averaged out to like an 82, and Trevor Lawrence was a 46. So Trevor Lawrence was like half, basically like double better than what Daniel Jones ranked out to be as far as like in each category.
I'm curious to turnovers as well because Daniel Jones and look, the eye test also needs to play a part of this. And I'm curious to see where Trevor Lawrence lands on this because I think he took a little step backwards last year. But Daniel Jones also has some fumble issues. He takes a ton of sacks. I don't think he's 22-36 lifetime. I'm not sure what Lawrence's record is, but Lawrence is obviously, I guess what's his name got to the playoffs once as well. But the eye test to me says Daniel Jones is not the guy. Coming off an ACL, we'll see what that does to his legs because the running is a huge part of his game as well.
Yeah, Daniel Jones sucks. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. To be fair, I just looked up Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is 20-30 in his career. So with 39 interceptions and 58 touchdowns. Yeah, the numbers are Daniel Jones 62 touchdowns and 40 interceptions, but Daniel Jones has played 4 full seasons compared to 3. So it's interesting to see that those numbers are a little closer than you would like them to be, especially if you're a Jaguars fan.
All right, so Brian, you're up, and you can either add a quarterback to the trash heap, or you can close the trash heap if you think this is it, and we need to move on to another tier.
No, we're going through, or we're trying to get to like at least 20 some quarterbacks. Am I right? Or
every starter in the league.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm gonna go Bryce Young in the trash.
I agree with that. I had him in the trash as well.
Young is in the trash. I have no.
Wait, you have any thoughts? Can I just make a comment on Bryce Young real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've never seen a guy who came into the league with the reputation of being small and looks smaller than even that. The guy, he looks my size when he plays quarterback. And I know they had no offensive line and they didn't have a lot of weapons around them, but I don't think it's looking up for Bryce Young.
Yeah, he had basically the lowest passing completion percentage in the league as far as starters go last year.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did the Carolina blow it or what?
Big time. Big time. Because we'll see where CJ ends up.
We don't know the whole story yet, but as far as right now, you gotta keep him in the trash right now until he proves otherwise.
Yeah.
All right, Al.
All right. I'm gonna put one more guy here, and it's not fair because he hasn't played. He hasn't taken a snap yet in the NFL. But maybe this is a little bit of the Penn State bias. I don't know. I'm putting J.J. McCarthy in the trash.
I have him in the trash as well, believe it or not.
I think he was picked way too high. I think Minnesota took a flyer on a guy that didn't deserve it, had a little bit of a hot run in the playoffs with a Michigan team that was quite frankly stacked around him. And I really don't think he's going to pan out and have much of an NFL future. I think we talked about this on a pod a few weeks back or maybe even around the draft time, Adam. And we talked about, what we thought as far as who had the potential to be an all-pro guy, who had the potential to be a starter or whatever. This guy has bust written all over him.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you. I don't love the tools. The one thing I'll give him credit for is he's a gamer. He always seemed to make the big throw when it mattered. And I do respect that. And he was a winner, obviously, in college between the last 2 years of what they did at Michigan, as much as I hate to say it. Being an Ohio State guy especially. But we've seen other quarterbacks who have been winners in college that just haven't been able to translate that to the NFL, whether it's Vince Young, whether it's Matt Leinart. There's been other guys that have been – I'm just drawing blanks on some winners throughout that just haven't been able to translate it. I don't see it happening for McCarthy. Just don't think he has enough of the tools to make it work. But he's in a really good situation with 2 of the really good receivers on the outside. But I'm just not a McCarthy guy.
I was going to say, yeah, with the receivers he's got to throw to, if he can't do it like at Minnesota, you're right, he's going to have to stay in the trash.
Yeah.
They're going to know real quick. All right, Adam, anybody else in the trash heap?
Now I'm ready to move up to the next heap. And let's call this not sure where we're going. I don't know. Do you want to rename it? These are guys to me that are going to start this year. And I'm not sure the team has any real direction or is sure where they're going.
Okay, so we can call this the unknowns, the unknown potential.
It might not even be potential. I think it's just lost and confused. Let's call that lost and confused.
All right.
And I'll start. I'm going to put Russell Wilson in this tier.
All right.
Again, the Steelers pick him up. Seems like a Steelers. I don't want to say Steelers kind of guy because he's really soft as far as his mentality goes. But I see Tomlin as thinking that he could turn Russ around, and I'm not sure he can do that. I know statistically he had a decent year last year, especially compared to the year before that. But even with that year, Denver could not wait to get rid of him. He's still – I'm not sure what his contract entails at this point, but I know he signed that blockbuster deal when he moved there. I think Russ, his career has passed him by. I almost wanted him to put him in the trash tier, but I'm just going to show a little bit more respect to a guy who's won Super Bowls, has been a top 5 quarterback in this league at one point in his career.
Brian, where'd you have Russ?
I actually had him in average just because if you look at his stats last year, they actually weren't that bad. And the Broncos, I just think as a team were kind of a mess. And I think the coach hated him. So, I'm not going to, completely give up on him. He's obviously not the Russell Wilson of 3 years ago or whatever, you know what I mean? But, in the Super Bowl days. But I'm still keeping him in, an average category just because, and like I said, average is just average anyway. It's not like I'm expecting this guy to take the Steelers to Super Bowl or anything like that. But, you can still win some games with an average quarterback. And I do think he's a step above Justin Fields. So I do think he's going to get the starting spot ahead of him. So, I don't know if I'd put him in a lost and confused, but that's just me.
He's there now.
Worlds above Justin Fields. I think it's going to be interesting because Pittsburgh obviously still has I think they have one of the best defenses in the league. So if they can just get somewhat of a competent quarterback under center, they should be a real threat to make the playoffs.
Yeah, but my only counter argument to Brian would be, his coach didn't like him last year. Well, in Seattle, his teammates really didn't like him. So I'm just curious as to what kind of personality you're getting with Russell Wilson as well. But this is a make or break. Not I won't say make or break, but his career, rest of his career will be determined by how he plays this year, I think, as far as how many years he has left in the tank.
All right, Brian, you're up.
I'm up.
You're up.
All right, lost and confused. I guess I'll put Geno Smith in there, the guy who replaced Russell Wilson.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on Geno?
What's that?
What are your thoughts on Geno?
It's just that I just don't think he really should be a starter anymore. I think he's, he put up some decent numbers and all that. And I'm not saying he's horrible, but I just think at this point, if you're Seattle, I think you should start to think about an actual real future quarterback. You know what I mean? That's going to try to do something for you. Because I don't think you're really going to go anywhere with Geno Smith, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be the starter next year for them because I don't think they got anybody else. But I would put him in that lost and confused just because it's kind of at this point, you're just sort of putting him out there for God knows what reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
Drew Lock when Drew Lock came in, they beat the Eagles. So it just shows you that his wins with Seattle really, how much are they, are they his wins?
I think Geno's floor is not as low as some of the other guys that we might have in this tier or in the tier below it, but his ceiling also is lower than those guys as well.
It's been a long time now. He's a true vet at this point. You know what I mean? And he hasn't really improved really all that much.
That's all. That's fair. I had Geno one tier above this, but I have no problem putting him in this tier. I like Brian said, I think he's only going to get you so far, and that so far may have been 2 years ago when they got to the first round of the playoffs and they got bounced.
Yeah. The name of this tier, I think, is going to make it a crowded tier. So if I was naming this tier, my next name was a bottom end guy, not so much a not sure what you're going to get out of him guy. So if we're still calling these guys, we're not sure what we're going to get out of them. And I'm not assuming, but the next tier is going to be better. So then I have to put Drake May in this tier. Now, I had him in a tier that was more of a bottom end, fringe, might get benched guy. Adam, you know how I feel about Drake May. I don't like him at all, and I don't think he is going to be a successful starting quarterback in the NFL either. The New England Patriots have nothing around him on offense whatsoever. They have nobody. I don't think I can name. Is Hunter Henry still on the team?
I think they picked up. Didn't they pick? I'm gonna look at their depth chart. I'm not in full football mode at this moment, but I thought they picked somebody up. But
is Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis still running the ball up there in New England, Bry? You tell me. I know you're probably a big roster guy.
To be honest, with New England, they're not even worth my time to like figure out who's on their roster. I mean, I think
Juju.
Bill Belichick didn't leave them in good hands.
Exactly. So I got Drake May down here and lost and confused because even if he does have a chance to be a capable starting NFL quarterback, with these pieces around him, or should I say with these pieces not around him, they really are not giving him much of an opportunity to show what he has. It's almost the opposite of the J.J. McCarthy situation.
All right. I will I'm going to go one more in this. I have one more guy in this, and it's a guy who was probably put in a situation similar to what you're saying with Drake May last year, Al. But now this team has gone out and gotten this guy some weapons. So we're going to see what he's really made of and whether or not this team is lost and confused. And that's Mr. Will Levis.
My boy, Will the Thrill.
So I'm not out on Will Levis as a quarterback, but I'm a little confused and not sure what he's going to be. Now, Tennessee's going out. They got him Calvin Ridley. They got Tyler Boyd. They still have Hopkins. Tony Pollard's in the backfield. They have what would seem to be an offense that's capable of being decent compared to what they've had in the past few years. But it's going to be a matter of what Will Levis can do for this team. And maybe lost and confused is a little tough for Will, but I'm not sure if he doesn't pan out, if the Tennessee Titans know where they're going to go from there.
I think he has way more potential than everyone else in this.
I'd go May. I think May has more potential than Levis. I would go May over Levis.
Uncle Brian, what do you think?
I can't wait for this year to actually see what Will Levy really can do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I would put him in the lost and confused just because, like, I do think he's got some talent. He's got I want to see it like this year, like coming up and then kind of rank him. I don't know if I want to put him in a lost and confused right now because I do think he has the potential to be better than that. But
who are you taking to start a franchise today? Drake May or Will Levis? Everything else equal around them.
Will Levis.
Yeah, I agree. Give me the
May.
size. Give me the guy who did it at Kentucky.
Who? Jared Lorenzen?
Yeah.
Tim Couch?
Well, I mean, I think, and me and Al probably know this, like Penn State had him, Will Levis.
Yep.
And we're both Penn State guys, so it's like, I think we're both going to try to root for him.
Yep.
Even though Penn State gave up on him. You know what I mean? But
now it makes sense.
yeah.
You know that?
I had to throw that out there.
I forgot he was a Penn State guy.
And we don't blame him for walking. He wasn't gonna start. All right.
Yeah, no, I can't blame him. I blame our coach. So, you know what I mean? I blame our coach for a lot of things.
Who real quick, did you see the top 8 recruits in PA? Penn State did not land one of them.
Oh, that's good.
Not only that,
that's his calling card, isn't it?
It is his calling card. And not only that, one of them chose Duke over us. Football powerhouse Duke. All right, let's put James Franklin in the trash while we're at it. While you pick here,
big game, James.
Yeah. All right, let's go, Brian. What do you got?
I mean, it's lost and confused. I'm going to say Jamal Murray from the Cardinals.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray. Yeah, sorry, Kyler Murray. Yeah, I just think we don't know what Kyler Murray is going to show up. And, you know what I mean, for the last 2 years, Arizona hasn't known, you know, what Kyler Murray is going to show up. There's times where he flashes and, like, he looks like he could be somebody. But, I mean, there's also times where he looks like he could be in the trash. I wouldn't put him in the trash because I think he's better than that. But, like, I just think I will put him in that lost and confused category for now.
Okay.
I don't think there's a quarterback in the league whose talent is so different compared to the 2-minute drill when it's basically like a pickup game and they're just running plays in the hurry up versus the second quarter when they're huddling. Because when the game picks up pace, Kyler looks great. when the game slows down, it doesn't look great for Kyler. So I had him a little higher, but again, I don't have a problem because I'm not sure if the Cardinals know what Kyler Murray is. So I'm fine with him in there.
Yeah, I had him again with the way I ranked him. I had him a couple of tiers higher, but if you're talking about a guy, confused is a great way to describe probably the feelings about Kyler Murray as a starting quarterback in the NFL these days. So I'm fine with Kyler Murray and lost and confused. But that's
I had other guys lower than him. I just had them more in the trash category. But since we moved on, I started putting other guys in that lost and confused.
And that's the beauty of the way we do things here on the 3K Pod, Brian. Because as we said last year, Jared Goff ended up somehow in the top 10 quarterbacks in the league,
and nobody wanted him there.
He ended up making us look pretty good.
Yeah, that's true.
Having him there,
that's true.
All right, so we're gonna close out Lost and Confused. I don't think I can put any more of the guys I have in Lost and Confused, and I'm gonna name this next tier. Give me some help. I'm looking something along the lines of like high upside but not ready yet. Okay. And you guys, I think, know where I'm going with this as far as the people that we're going to be putting into this tier.
Yeah, so, that's fine. Yeah, I think I got some guys I could put in that category. Yeah.
So I'm going to go high upside. Maybe not the year, right? Like it's not going to be this year where they pop.
We may have to end up renaming some of these tiers at the end because all right, I'll explain later. But go ahead, Al.
So I can do pass. Like here's where I named it: passable. That's what I have it in my notes.
Okay, I like that better because, and I'll explain why when I make my pick.
Right. Well, passable. I'll start with Caleb Williams.
Oh, okay, I had Caleb higher.
I think for now he's passable. I think he needs to prove it first. I can't have a rookie higher than this before I've ever seen him play a down in the NFL. So I know he has all of the measurables and all the hype. Maybe he has a little bit of Jared McCain in him with one press conference where he said "the Bears" at the end. So I don't know how that's going to take with Chicago fans, but I like Caleb Williams as being passable. Again, a guy with a lot of high upside.
Yeah, I had him higher, and I think last year we did the same thing with the rookie quarterbacks where we held them down, and we saw C.J. Stroud, obviously tear up the league. A few years ago, Justin Herbert had a year like that as a rookie year. You mentioned Jared McCain. I think just because Caleb Williams paints his nails, we can't hate on it now because we have that guy on the Sixers. I think Caleb Williams is going to be really, really good. I had him not significantly, 2 tiers up. But I hear you. It's easy to put a rookie down when you haven't seen him play in the NFL.
Yeah. Brian, where'd you have him?
Yeah, I would definitely put him in that category of passable for now. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, he hasn't thrown a pass yet in the NFL. So I don't think you can put him any higher than that, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, the ability is there. I didn't watch a ton of USC, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, what I did watch, like, he does look pretty good.
Are you high on him? Like, do you think he's going to break this streak of Chicago having 500 starting quarterbacks in the last, 30 years, whatever it's been?
You would think. I mean, they gave him some good weapons too to start off. You know what I mean, as a rookie, and then like hopefully, you know what I mean, they can coach him up and get him ready for the NFL. I mean, I think I like Daniels a little bit better than him as far as like the rookies coming in. I do think Daniels could be like that C.J. Stroud type of guy that comes in and lights the world on fire, which I'm kind of scared about. But yeah, Williams, I would definitely put in that passable category.
All right.
So let me give you the reason why we couldn't do high upside here is because there's a quarterback, Al, that that I can't stand, and I was not going to let him go any higher up in the tiers. So you can write Derek Carr's name on this list here, and I wouldn't call him high upside, so that's why I felt like the name had to get changed. Derek Carr, to me, is a guy who was overrated throughout his stint in Oakland or Vegas, whatever you want to call it, because of his durability. He put up some volume stats. But I believe if I look up his career stats again, give me 1 second to pull Derek Carr up here. Derek Carr has been a starting quarterback in this league for 6, 9, 10 seasons now and has played in one playoff game. Collected a lot of money, but certainly hasn't collected a lot of wins. Last year in New Orleans, he goes 9-8, which is just a typical Derek Carr season. 72-87 overall. We'll put up his 25 touchdowns every year. Throw his 10 picks, win you half of your football games, and then you'll call it a season because you're not going anywhere with Derek Carr.
But we had this argument before about him in the playoffs. You can't put that all on him when you play for a franchise like the Raiders.
Well, what do you judge? What do you judge quarterbacks by these days? Wins, right? Winning is everything. Listen, it'd be different if it was 5 years and he didn't make the playoffs. He was in the league for 10 years.
But the Raiders were dysfunctional for like all 10 of those years.
They were better than you thought for those years.
Their whole lives. So how do you feel about Justin Herbert then? Because he's on that road.
I dropped him compared to where we had him last year a little bit.
Look, I don't have Carr higher than this, but I thought it was. I mean, and I guess you agreed. Actually, maybe not because I closed the tier. I wouldn't have had him in lost and confused.
No, I had him in this tier right here is where I had him.
Okay,
but I wasn't letting him go higher.
Brian, be the tiebreaker. How do you feel about Derek Carr?
Yeah, I agree. I think in this category, this is where I would put him. I would put him right here in this category. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks that could be in this category along with him, because I don't think he's like, I think his ability is right there. Like, I think he's got some ability and can make some plays and you know what I mean, and help a team win and all that. Like, I don't think he's like you said, Al, like, I don't think he's always like going to be the main reason why you lose, even though quarterbacks, is usually the main reason why you win or lose games. But I just think for him, like, he's a guy who does have some ability, and I think he's good enough. Like you said, he's good enough to be out of that lost and confused category. And I would say, yeah, this next category is probably where he should be. I
mean, 25 touchdowns to 8 picks last year, 68% completion percentage. It's not terrible.
No.
It's not. It might not get you over the hump, but it's not awful.
He will go down as the worst quarterback in NFL history to throw for 40,000 yards and 300 touchdowns. That's my opinion. He's a numbers. He's a volume numbers guy. This guy doesn't win games.
You're getting confused with Brett Favre. All right, let's move on.
Brett Favre won a Super Bowl. Brett Favre has never even won a playoff game. Not one playoff game. Brett Favre's won more Super Bowls than Derek Carr playoff games.
No, I feel about that hick.
All right, so it goes back to Brian now if he wants to add a passable or he wants to close it out.
No. I mean, well, see, that's the thing. In this category, if you're going to put Derek Carr in this category, you can put a lot of quarterbacks in this category. But I mean, as far as like Al throwing out Caleb Williams, I'll throw out a guy who really hasn't been able to prove anything yet, and that's Anthony Richardson with the Colts.
Okay. Do you like him? Do you think
I like his ability, and I think Shane Steichen is going to, coach him up and try to get the most out of him. But I mean, right now you can only put him in that category because he hasn't really done anything yet.
The injury really hurt because I think he started to find himself a little bit, and then the injury took away basically the rest of his season. But who's the one receiver the Colts have? I like him.
Pittman.
I think Pittman's a really good receiver.
Yeah. I like Richardson a lot. I think he's going to be good. I had him in the next tier up, and I had the next tier up as really talented, but a lot of question marks. I think he's there, and my question mark is just his health, and we haven't seen it. But I'm in on Richardson for sure.
All right. Well, I guess I have to put one more guy here, and then we'll see what happens. But I have to put Jaden Daniels here.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that his rookie counterpart Caleb Williams is here. Did either of you guys see the clip? I think it was from Hard Knocks of Jaden Daniels apparently like not being able to like read a play or something along those lines. Something like he looked really bad.
He was like screwing it up a little bit, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
I didn't see that.
The Giants look like the Giants GM looks like the worst thing about that show.
Yeah, I haven't watched it at all.
It's pretty good actually.
I know. I got to get over the fact that it's the Giants because Hard Knocks is always great television. But because it's the Giants, I haven't watched it. I like Jaden Daniels. I think he can be successful. But until we see it, can't say it.
All right. I'll close the tier, and I'll open it up with This is what I mentioned earlier. Talented, but question marks. Now, I mentioned I have 5 guys in this tier. 2 have already made the list. That's Richardson and Kyler Murray was on this list for me as well. So now it's a lot shorter. But I'll open it up with Bake. Bake obviously saw a resurgence last year with what he did in Tampa Bay. I've always been pro Baker. Obviously, when he was with Carolina the year before, I was very bullish on him winning comeback player of the year. I thought the Browns did him dirty. I was happy to see what he did. But I still think he needs to do it another year to be able to solidify himself in what would be the next tier up of quarterbacks. He did get the deal from Tampa Bay, so hopefully some stability for him there. Again, the talent, like you might say, like the raw talent doesn't jump off the page, but he was number 1 overall pick at one point in time. So let's not belittle what this guy can do on a football field. I think he's really talented. We just need to see it again and make sure that he's the guy that he was last year.
Yeah, I think it's funny where we're at this year versus last year, like that we're willing to put him almost halfway. You know what I mean?
Was he in the trash last year?
Probably.
I think he had to be in the trash last year.
Yeah. All right.
And don't like I said, don't necessarily take the title of the. If you have a quarterback that you just think needs to be in that tier, don't let the title of the tier scare you.
Yeah, I think this tier is going to have the most quarterbacks in it.
Okay.
All right, Brad, do you have someone else?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'll just put Matt Stafford in there too, because I mean, like you said, he's done a lot over his career, but at this point, going into this year, I mean, the question marks is just his age and his health and all that. So, I mean, obviously he's talented. He won a Super Bowl, so you know, the only thing I could say about is going into this year, there is going to be question marks about him.
Yeah. No problems with that. And I'm going to put Kirk Cousins in here. And it's much of the same, minus the Super Bowl victory, obviously. I infamously last year had Kirk Cousins way down in the tiers, so I'm going to give him a little bit more respect. But coming off the Achilles injury, you don't know what you're going to get. Going down to Atlanta where he has some weapons around him. They have a pretty nice little young offense down there. You know, we'll see if he can help Kyle Pitts find his way now in his 3rd year. So I'll take Kirk Cousins here in the talented but question marks tier.
I think that's exactly where he belongs, and I think he would be higher if it wasn't for the Achilles. So I agree with you, because especially an older guy who doesn't have much mobility to begin with, I think that's where he goes. All right, I have one more guy who I think has to go in this tier, and that's Deshaun Watson. A guy who really hasn't shown what he was in Houston with Cleveland yet. Obviously, he has this scandal that has, you know, kind of tarnished his career as far as his fandom goes. He has the Cleveland Browns curse written all over him. But I'm not ready to rule this guy out for as far as his talent goes. But he's got to do it this year. Joe Flacco was able to do it with that team last year and with that defense and get them to a playoff berth. It's I know he was banged up a little bit last year, but this is the year that he has to put it on tape for the Cleveland Browns, because they're paying him a lot of money. And it's been, I mean, what, three years since we've seen him play good football.
Yep.
At this point.
Yep.
So I think Deshaun's got to go in there.
I'm actually shocked that you have him this high, because I had him in the trash.
You should have put him. You should have mentioned him earlier.
I would have, but you guys moved on to the next category. But I passed alongside him. I think this guy turned into the Ben Simmons of the NFL.
Wow.
I do. I think he's got Ben Simmons was talented too.
Yeah.
And I think Deshaun Watson's talented, but the last couple of years, I mean, he's literally done nothing. And you saw what Joe Flacco did with Cleveland. Like, he actually played pretty well. Like, Cleveland's got a good team around him, and he's done absolutely nothing.
Joe Flacco stole comeback player of the year from a guy who died. So that tells you how good of a season Joe Flacco had.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and listen, I used to love Deshaun Watson. Like, I would have had him up real far if we did this 3 years ago. You know what I mean? But like, at this point, I just think he doesn't care about football anymore. Kind of like Ben Simmons doesn't care about basketball. And I just think at this point, I'm throwing him in the trash.
Our colleague Chris would agree with you, Brian. He's very anti-Deshaun.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll eat my words this year. Who knows? But I'm just saying, like, my buddy from college, he's a Browns fan. So, like, I always tell him, like, dude, like, you guys got screwed again. Like, the Browns they got bad luck, man. They got a bad luck franchise, kind of like the Sixers.
Yeah.
You get bad luck with stuff, but I mean, I just said like at this point they might have to move on.
All right, you got anybody else for this tier, Bri? You're up.
Talented with question marks. I will go. What do you got here? You got Sean Left is off the thing. I'll go Trevor. I'll throw Trevor Lawrence in there.
Okay.
I do think he, like you said, I think he is talented, obviously, and like you said, like I think you guys were talking earlier about how his stats are close to Geno Smith's, or what was it, Daniel Jones stats or whatever.
Yep.
So that tells me that obviously there is question marks. I mean, you go into it and you see that name and you think like, oh, there's no way you put him in that tier. But you know what I mean? Like you said, he with his record and his turnovers and everything else, and he has weapons around him. It's not like that team's like trash or anything around him. And Dougie P's proven that he's a pretty good coach, winning Super Bowl, for us. So, I can't give him like the excuses anymore. I think he needs to start proving it.
Yeah, I think the scary thing if you're like a Jaguars fan about Trevor Lawrence is obviously number 1 overall pick in the draft. Comes off that season in 2022 where they get hot at the end of the year. He throws for 44,000 yards, 25 TDs, 8 interceptions, has that epic comeback in the playoff game, and then everybody has him listed as a breakout quarterback, ready to take that jump into that elite level quarterback, and he just wasn't good last year, and that's worrisome if I'm a Jaguars fan.
All right, I have to put one more person in this tier. They can't go above this tier. It's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, talk about the ultimate question mark. A guy that, again, another Achilles issue. He's 40 whatever years old. Who knows what's going on in his head at any given time. I think he has a lot to prove as far as him being a viable starting quarterback in this league at this point. And he's another guy that's going to have weapons around him. So we'll see with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. But I don't trust him. I wouldn't want him over probably anyone else possibly in this tier. Like, I think he's at the low end of this tier. So I'm taking Aaron Rodgers here. I can't move him up.
If I said over under 9.5 games started for Aaron Rodgers this year, whether it's injury or some other weird ass shit going on, or the Jets being cursed, what are you taking?
Probably have to take the under.
Brian?
Yeah, I'll take the under, yeah.
All right.
I mean, I agree with the question marks and all that with him. I mean, you have to. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, with the injury and everything. I'll just ask you this, Al. If you're the 49ers and you can get Aaron Rodgers, you taking him over Purdy?
No, you're talking to a big Brock Purdy fan. I don't know. I know we weren't friends really when the pod, we were in full Brock Purdy discussions. Chris, our other co-host, is a huge Brock Purdy hater. And I'm always having to defend Brock Purdy despite being an Eagles fan. I have to always take his side.
All right. If I was a GM, and I had that choice where they said, "Hey, we'll give you Rodgers for Purdy," I'm taking it.
Yeah, pure talent. I'm with you, Brian. I think I'd take him. I just worry about the fit sometimes because he just seems like he's aloof, or he's just a different kind of dude. And it just depends on whether your locker room can handle that. Jets had no choice because they need a quarterback at some point. All right, let me close the tier out.
Yep.
Let's go good, not great. And I'll start it off with a bang. Jalen Hurts. Put him in there.
So
I wish Chris was on for this.
I had Jalen Hurts in his own category, just called Jalen Hurts.
So here's my thing with Hurts, guys. It's like we were all really bullish on him going into last year after what was probably an MVP season if he finishes the year, takes him to the Super Bowl, plays his balls off in the Super Bowl. And then last year, we talked about Trevor Lawrence having a disaster season. The numbers don't look bad, but obviously the way the Eagles went out was a complete disaster. The things that we thought were Hurts' strength as far as leadership and camaraderie and keeping the boys happy, the locker room completely fell apart on him. And now we look at his resume, and we have 2 full seasons of football that are extremely mediocre, followed by 1 season that was really, really great. So who is the real Jalen Hurts? I mean, you have to at least think it's the guy who's had 2 mediocre seasons at this point. And he's been surrounded by great football players. So it's not like he hasn't been supported by a really good team. And we'll see this year, but I don't think you can do anything but drop him after what happened last year.
Brian, do you want to take in the task? What do you want to do here?
I mean, I'll allow it just because, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, when we first took Hurts, like, this is where I would have put him, or actually, would have put him below that, you know what I mean, after that first year he had. But, I mean, then he had the 2022, and I would have put him in, like, one of the top tiers. So, I mean, like you said, like, it's averaging out to be about in this category. Maybe I would put him a little bit above that category, but just because of his running ability and, like, his, you know what I mean, like, and some of the intangibles things that he can do. But I mean, I'm not going to argue it too much just because, like, yeah, he didn't have a good year last year. I mean, obviously, as an Eagles fan, we're hoping that he moves up a couple tiers, you know, because he's going to hopefully he looks great this year coming up. But I mean, at this point, I guess, you know, going into the year, I'm fine with putting him in that category.
See, I think I think this is a little overreactive to last year, and maybe we overreacted to the Super Bowl year afterwards. I think this is unfair to say that he's not a great quarterback in this league. He was still 7th in the league in total yards with what he can do on the ground. Look, you can't take away the brotherly shove. You can't just act like those.
You can. It's bullshit.
It's not bullshit. He's still
it's not bullshit. It's not bullshit. It's stat padding.
Okay, so then Jerome Bettis stat padded.
Sure, he did. I'm on board with you. That's fine.
You can't say that. Chris Carter stat padded his whole career, begging for those red zone targets.
Now you're being ridiculous.
Begging for those red zone targets, crying and whining once Randy Moss joined the team. I think this is far too low for Jalen Hurts. I have him in more of like the low end of the great category. Because you're also, you know, we're here, we're in Philly. So all the stuff about the leadership and about the locker room stuff, we're privy to all that. And so you're holding that against him. Like, who knows if that's being talked about as far as like with guys like Josh Allen and Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott. Like, we don't know that.
Al, let's be real though. They were 10-1 last year, and we were on this podcast every week talking about how he still wasn't playing well.
Listen, that's fine. But again, I'm willing to look at the total body of work. I'm willing to look at this as more than just that.
But you're not, because the total body of work shows more more good quarterback play than great quarterback play.
But it shows a winning quarterback.
Sure, that's fine. But he's also been a part of it.
And you said it yourself. You said it yourself talking about Derek Carr. That what matters with quarterbacks wins.
Sure. Well, that's why he's in the good, not great category. I got a lot of quarterbacks who win games in this category.
I think we're going to end up.
Let's see who else ends up in this category before we judge it all.
Let's go. So who's next there?
All right. If you're going to put Jalen Hurts in there, then I'm going to put Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, for sure. But I actually had Tua in the tier below this.
Yeah, Tua's got to be here. I want to. Can we move through these a little bit faster?
Yeah, that's fine.
So Goff has to be here.
Yep. It goes back to me, and then I'll put Prescott has to be in here.
Yeah. Brian, got anybody else in this one?
Yeah, I'll go Herbert for now.
Yep.
Just because, like, yeah, his stats, like you said, his stats are looking good, but I mean, this past year with the injuries and all that, like he might end up moving up a couple categories after this year, and I'll probably eat my words, but I'm gonna put him in the category for now.
I agree 100%, Brian. It's time for him to take the next step as well, and he just hasn't won enough to be put any higher than that. Is it me?
Yep.
Al, you're not gonna like this. Brock Purdy's gonna go in here for me. I think he's in that class of quarterback when we, at the end of the day, when we look at who's going to be above him, I'm not ready to put him there. I think he's in the good, not great category. I think the guys above him could do exactly what he did with the San Francisco team.
Okay. Jordan Love has to be here.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So
those are the guys I had that tier.
That leaves us with 5 quarterbacks left. And Brian, you're up. Are you going to close this tier, or are we going to move on to?
Now we can close it just because I really like this guy that I want to name. I think is going to be above this. I think he proved, even though he's only played for 1 year, You know, and a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy, but I'm going to put him ahead of this good, not great tier.
Okay, so we know who you're talking about, but just real quick, looking at these 7 guys, where's Hurts ranked just among that 7? Give a number.
I'm going to say number 1.
Adam, you obviously don't say number 1.
Me?
Yeah.
He's if I was building a team right now, I would take him 3rd out of those quarterbacks.
Behind Herbert?
And I like Love. I would take Love before him too.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
Okay. All right. So great. We're starting off with Bri. You want to say it?
Yeah, CJ Stroud. I just think, with the numbers that he's putting up, and you know, in his first year, and the way he played in the playoffs, with who was he thrown to? Like, he didn't even have any weapons, and now he's got, you know, Diggs coming in, so we'll see how that works out. Even though he's kind of getting up there in age now, but I just think, I'm real high on this guy, and I hate Ohio State and all that, but I just can't help it. Like, this dude just looks really, really great. Really
I'll be
good.
honest.
Really good.
I liked Nico Collins and Tank Dell last year, and even Schultz at the tight end position. I thought he had some pretty good players around him that just were unknowns leading into the season. This to me was the most interesting guy in this exercise, because what he did in one season was great. There was no other word for it, but it was one season. So we'll see what happens now that the target's on his back, now that the tape is out. Now that he's the hunted, not the hunter. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with CJ Stroud, man. And yeah, Ohio State's the worst. So for me to give this guy props, this is really hurting me right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, the eye test shows everything with him. He's a superstar. You know, even in the playoff game, I know they when they win Cleveland, he threw for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks in the playoffs. I mean, he was awesome. He's fantastic. The other guy I have in this tier, I have it as a 2 quarterback tier, but Al, you'll get is Lamar.
Okay.
The wins and losses stand for themselves. Obviously he did have the 1 playoff win last year, which helped his resume. I still think he needs to do a little bit more in the playoffs, which is why I'm not ready to put him above the other guys. But he's done enough to be in that great tier. So I got Lamar Jackson.
All right. So look, there's 2 spots here. That doesn't necessarily mean there has to be 2 more tiers, but I got to have Josh Allen in this tier. I can't have him in a tier that's clearly higher yet, because he's starting to show a little bit of a decline. Like the turnovers, I think, are becoming a little bit of an issue. And if you want to talk about locker room stuff, like they just chased Stephon Diggs out of town. And you can't tell me that doesn't have to do somewhat with the quarterback. So I'm going to have Josh Allen in this tier, because I can't have him potentially in like a superstar tier based on what I've seen now this past season.
I completely disagree with that.
You love Allen. You love
Allen.
I actually hate him as a I hate watching him, because he's you know who he reminds me of? He's probably like a Luka Doncic for like the NBA, like for the NFL, because he's always complaining about every time he gets hit or whatever, he wants to complain to the refs, kind of like Luka does in the NBA, and like he's a big guy and all that, like he can take the hits and everything, and he does annoy me. And you're right. Like, I think I probably would have put him in the next category, but I'm fine with you keeping him down there just because he annoys me.
Dude, you got the personal bias has to definitely play a part in this exercise.
For sure. But my last point is, Josh gets a lot of slack for, again, Buffalo not performing well in the playoffs, and the fact that he turns the ball over a lot. In the playoffs, he's played 10 games. He has 21 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions in the playoffs. He's been fantastic. He played again well last year. But at the end of the day, you mentioned Stephon Diggs, Al. Stephon Diggs, the second half of the year, completely fell off the map for whatever reason. And he got run out of Minnesota for being a cancer, too. So I think that's more Stephon Diggs than it is Josh Allen. I have him a tier up, but it is what it is. You're in charge here.
All right. Well, you're next, right? So we closing this tier out?
Yeah, we'll close it out.
We have to.
We'll close it out.
Left, right?
Yeah, we'll close it out. I guess you're going to put all-time greats.
All-time. I was going to go superstar.
Okay.
I mean,
okay, that's fine. And it's Joe Burrow.
Yep.
And there's not a lot to say. Obviously, last year was a little bit of a lost year for him. But proven winner, has already been to a Super Bowl, can do it all. Still at the age of 27. Last year, like I said, he was injured. He only played 10 games. Do worry a little bit about that. That's the second season out of 4 seasons he's missed significant time, but winner, nothing much more to say about that.
Yeah. Accurate passer, throws for a ton of touchdowns, leader, just the coolest dude on the face of the earth. And I think he's slightly better than Allen. I do.
I agree. Yeah. So that's why I said I'm kind of fine with him being in that category above. I looking at it now, I think I like, how we ranked it. You know what I mean? I think I like that Stroud, Jackson, and Allen got that category. And now even I do kind of think Jalen Hurts with the year he had last year should be kind of below those 3 guys. So I'm kind of like looking at it now, like, okay, like I kind of like the way everything kind of got tiered up.
Yeah, it's just so funny what a difference a year makes, because this time last year we were arguing about Hurts, Burrow, and Allen, and the 3 of them, and they were all in that like great category and who was the best of the 3. And now you look at it, and CJ Stroud in one year just eclipsed Hurts, and Lamar Jackson's back up there where we didn't have him last year. But I think, Bri, is it safe to say, can we do his own category, his own tier for the
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because I do think we were spoiled growing up with the Bradys and the Mannings, and and Roethlisberger, Rivers was in during that time. Rodgers, Breeze. Like at this point, I think it's Mahomes and the rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like it was like Brady and the rest. Or Brady, for me, it was Brady, Manning, and the rest. You know what I mean? Like I think it's Mahomes and the rest of the guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. We'll have to get Chris's feedback next week on the list here. But I think it's. I mean, listen, that's why it's a beautiful exercise every year to get 3 people to put together one list on everything, because you get the differing opinions on things. I think if you guys can make one change, what I'm getting at is, Al, you'd move Hurts up.
I would move Hurts up.
Yeah. Brian, you would move Deshaun Watson down.
Yeah, if I could make one change, it would probably be moving Watson down. Yeah.
And I would move Allen up. That would be my move.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to jump into segment 3 to move things along tonight. So, Al, you've put together a little game for us. Why don't you tell us what's going on?
Well, so to commemorate with the MLB All-Star game that is taking place as we speak, I believe the AL is winning 5-3, if I'm not mistaken. I thought it'd be fun to do just a little roster trivia here with the MLB All-Star game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name a year, and we'll just start with the NL. And position by position, we're going to see if you guys can name the starters. Now, I'll give you hints. I can give you a team, or some other type of hint. But I was thinking, because I was getting a lot of these on my Instagram reels. They were just giving me like videos of the starting lineups and like just saying like, look how awesome the starting lineup was. So I thought it'd be fun to see, because watching the reel, I was thinking to myself, oh, I don't think this would be that hard. Now, obviously, these games always end up being way harder than we think they're going to be. So I'll be a little bit lenient with the hints. Bri, as far as a baseball historian guy, like, as far as the 90s and the 00s, where would you rank your confidence level in being able to do something like this?
I mean, to be honest, I could probably be better with the 90s and early 2000s more than even like recent, All-Stars. You know what I mean? Just because like I probably paid attention a little bit more like to like the league, what I mean, back then than I did. Now it's kind of more just like the Phillies, and that's pretty much it. Like I'll pay attention here and there to the league. I know like the big names, but like all the All-Stars, that'd be hard for me to name it.
So the way I'm looking at it here is, why don't we do this? Let's start with 1999. Okay. Yeah. So we have the 1999 Major League Baseball All-Stars. We're going to start with the NL starting lineup, and we're going to try to go through it 1 through 9 and the pitcher. So I'll give you. So we'll start with Brian. Okay. So Brian, leading off. What's that?
Nah, go ahead.
So leading off for the NL was a shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds. Can you name that player?
Oh man, I'm gonna have a brain fart. I could picture him in my head, and I'm gonna have a brain fart on his name. No, I'm not going to be able to name it.
Adam, I think you got this one.
Barry Larkin.
That's Barry Larkin is correct. Barry Larkin. All right, so Adam, we'll stay with you now. Batting second for the NL All-Stars was a right fielder playing for the Colorado Rockies.
Got me Larry Walker.
Larry Walker.
This
Correct.
is 99. This is my heyday, man. This is why I was a baseball junkie.
And I looked like I had a page open with all the rosters, and this roster just has studs. Like these are just like unforgettable names on both sides. Although Brian already forgot one. So
all right, Brian, we'll work together here. We'll give you the crack. Let Brian go first. I'll be the backup.
Brian, got it. Here's what I'll do. Brian, let's go. I'm going to give you batting third, Chicago Cub.
Batting third, Chicago Cub. Wait, what position was it? Or you're not going to give me that hint?
I wasn't going to give it to you, but if you want it, center field.
Center field, batting third. It's not Sammy. So he wasn't. Sosa wasn't center field, was he?
I don't believe he.
No, he was a right fielder, but I think for the All-Star game they probably put him in center.
Correct. Yes.
All right.
For the All-Star game they threw him in center.
All right.
So 2-1. Adam, batting cleanup. What if I just don't give you a hint at all?
I would guess Bonds if you're not giving me a hint.
It is not Bonds.
Mark McGwire.
It is Mark McGwire.
Whoa, steal.
Mark McGwire. All right, now we're all even here.
Okay.
All right. Batting fifth. So we're back to Bry. Batting fifth was a third baseman that at the time played for Arizona. This one's difficult.
Arizona. Yeah, I'm not going to get that.
It was me?
Yeah.
Matt Williams.
That's Matt Williams. Yeah. He's probably the second most forgettable name on this roster.
Former Giant.
He was known for being on the Giants.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, batting sixth, the DH.
I mean, you got to give me a team because there's no DH in the NL.
Played for one team.
Jeff Bagwell.
Jeff Bagwell.
How about that?
Guest was at home screaming it at his speaker.
Yeah, he's in the stance.
All right, Brian, batting seventh that year for the NL All-Stars. He was a Met at the time.
Met. It's
fairly new to the Mets.
He's a catcher, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Morristown's finest, baby.
Yeah, come on, man.
I don't know why I'm having a brain fart on his name now.
It's hard when the lights are on.
He threw the bat at Roger Clemens.
Yeah. It's hard when the lights are on, Brian. It's all right.
Come on, dude. Where do you go for your Hondas around these parts?
Piazza.
You go to Piazza Honda.
Oh my God. I'm like, dude, I know. I'm looking at his face in my head, and I'm just like, why can't I think of his name?
I saw him in Golf Galaxy a few years ago.
See, now you can tell everybody, Brian, that these games ain't as easy as they sound.
No, because that's the thing. You have like you said, when the question's asked and you're not expecting, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many names in your head, you get lost in your own head.
I feel like people are in the car listening to us play games and screaming the answer sometimes.
100%.
Yeah.
All right,
which I probably would have been if I wasn't actually on this podcast, right?
Batting, it's 4-3. Adam, you have the lead. Batting eighth was a left fielder, and he played for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Oof. I'm gonna throw. Is it Jeremy Burnitz?
It's Jeremy Burnitz.
Woo-hoo.
Wow.
Jeremy.
That's my heyday, man.
Jeremy Burnitz that year had 33 home runs, 103 RBIs.
Good for Jeremy.
And had a lot of voters backing him. All right, batting ninth, Bry. This is the toughest one. He was a second baseman, and he played at the time for the Arizona Diamondbacks. But I'm going to give you another hint because this one's really hard. He's probably best known for playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh man, yeah. I don't have a name in my head. I don't even have a face.
Tough.
Jay Bell.
Jay Bell is correct. Jay Bell. Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten Jay Bell.
And one big year for the Diamondbacks.
Seltzer, I'm not going to give you a hint. Who was the starting pitcher that year for the NL?
I'm not going to be. I would guess.
Randy Johnson.
That's a good guess. I was going to say Maddox.
Not Maddox and not Randy Johnson. Brad, do you have one more guess?
Kurt Schilling.
Kurt Schilling.
Good.
Phillies? Phillies. Still a Philly at that point. Yeah. He was let's see, he had a 3.54 ERA that year.
Probably had like over 300 strikeouts. I bet.
That's what I'm looking for here. 100. Oh wait, no, sorry. It's no, I don't know. Oh, he got hurt that year. He must have gotten hurt because he only had 152 strikeouts.
Gotcha.
All right, we'll move to the AL and then we'll do maybe one more.
Okay.
So the AL, Bry, we're on you. He played left field. He led off. He was a Cleveland Indian.
What, Manny Ramirez?
Not Manny. That's a great guess.
Yeah.
So
was he already on the Red Sox at that point?
Manny was not on the Red Sox yet.
I'm going to guess it's similar to Sammy Sosa. I'm going to guess Kenny Lofton because he's leading Lofton. But he was a center fielder, obviously.
It was Kenny Lofton. All right. Seltzer batting second was a Boston Red Sox. That's all I'm going to tell you.
How about Nomar?
It was Nomar. Correct. Remember his dude, what would happen if he had that batting ritual these days with the pitch clock?
Probably would have to get rid of his batting gloves, man.
He would have to get rid of that. He couldn't do it.
I think he would just have to come. He's so used to it. He probably had to come to play with no gloves at all.
That's true. Batting third was a Seattle Mariner, my friend.
Was Ichiro back then? No, he wasn't.
Nah.
Wow. Was it Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, you were thinking too hard there, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
It's Griffey.
Yeah.
All right, so it's 8-5. Adam leads. Seltzer batting cleanup was a right fielder. That's all I'm going to give you.
Oh, makes it hard. I'll go Manny since we already mentioned him. Was Manny cleaning up?
It's good deductive reasoning there. It was Manny.
Yeah. I knew you came up with he was still on Cleveland pretty fast, so I knew he had to be in that lineup.
All right, Bri. First base batting fifth. He was a Cleveland Indian at the time.
Future Philly. Philly.
Think about it first.
Jim. Why can't I get it? Jim Thome.
Yeah, Jim Thome. Brian, we're at the 1 hour 47 mark of this podcast. Most people have tuned out by now. You can take your time.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Take your time.
If they're still listening now, they'll listen for 10 more minutes.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
All right, Seltzer batting sixth was a third baseman.
God, you're really as we get to the bottom of the lineup, it's gonna be hard.
I'm trying to get Bri back into the game with this.
Can you give me a division at least?
No.
Because you don't want to, or because you don't know?
No, but I can't. I think you'll have it. I'm trying to make.
I got a good guess here. How about Cal Ripken?
It's Cal Ripken.
Let's go.
Cal Ripken. That's a good
go.
I mean, if I say AL East, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
All right. This is a tough one. I mean, if you couldn't get Jim Thome out right away, this is going to be hard, Bri. 99.
Wait, so I didn't get the point for Jim Thome?
No, you did. You did. I'm just saying, this is a name that you'll know, but it's good. It's a harder pull than Jim Thome.
Okay.
So this is 99 still. It's the 7-hole batter. He was on the Texas Rangers, and he was the DH for the lineup that year. He rocked an awesome mustache.
Oh my god.
Two-time MVP winner, I believe.
What? He was a two-time MVP winner?
Yeah, but not as well known. But yes.
You said he was on Texas that year?
He was not a two-time MVP winner. You're thinking of somebody different, Seltzer.
Oh.
I can't. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's a tough one. And
I
do know who it is. I would have gotten it wrong though, so I don't want to take the point. It's Palmeiro.
It's Rafael Palmeiro.
I was thinking Juan Gonzalez.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't mind that.
Also had a mean mustache.
He did. All right, Seltzer, we're back to you. 8-hole hitter, also played for the Texas Rangers.
I'm gonna guess it's not Juan Gonzalez because we would have said him already, but Ivan Rodriguez.
It was Pudge. Pudge batted 8 that year. And Bry, the 9-hole hitter, was a second baseman who at the time also played for the Cleveland Indians.
No, I'm not gonna get it.
He was an Oriole. He was a Blue Jay.
Blue Jay.
No, he's known for hocking a loogie in an umpire's face.
Oh. I forgot about that.
I've probably seen that loogie and all that, but I can't think of the name. I'm gonna have a brain fart on the name.
That's a top 2 loogie behind the Hawk Tour girl at this point.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I'm glad you gave that hint, Al, because I would have guessed Baerga, but it's not Baerga. It's Roberto Alomar.
Roberto Alomar is correct.
Okay.
Seltzer, you get to name the pitcher that year. I'm not going to give you a hint.
Pedro.
It was Pedro.
That was at Fenway, I think.
Yeah. All right, you have a commanding lead here, Seltzer. You're up 13-6. Once again, not really opening the door for a guest to want to come back to the show. So Bri, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you pick the year. What year do you feel most comfortable with?
Oh man, for baseball All-Stars?
Yeah.
Let's go the Phillies. Let's try to go the Phillies heyday. Let's go 08.
08. I love it. This is your chance here.
All right.
All right, Bri, we're going to let you start off again. Boy, oh boy, look at these names. Bri, do you want to go NL?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, let's do NL. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna tell you this. You mentioned it being the Phillies' heyday. The Phillies only have one starter in this lineup this year.
Yeah, this is gonna be harder for me.
Then I'm not gonna get it.
Dude, let me tell you what. Wait till you guys hear these names. So, Bri, leading off that year was a shortstop for the Florida Marlins. He was a Philly killer.
Oh God.
Oh my God, dude.
Speedster.
I know exactly what you're talking about too. And
Hit for average guy. He was the rookie of the year in 2006.
Yeah, he got a big contract somewhere else, right? So it was like was it the Mets who signed him to a big contract after that?
Was not the Mets.
Yeah,
I believe. I don't want to give any more hints because I might give it away for Seltzer.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't get the name. I'm gonna brain fart on these names.
I think it's Hanley Ramirez, but I didn't think he was around back then.
It was Hanley Ramirez. It was his first of 3 All-Star games in a row with Florida, and then he went on to the Dodgers. So maybe it was the Dodgers.
Okay, it was the Dodgers gave him that big contract,
and then he was a Red Sox after that. All right, Seltzer, batting second.
That's it.
That's it.
I have no idea. Like I need hints. Like 03 is 99 is my heyday. Like,
but again, like, dude, like just deductive reason. Yeah, like why didn't I give you a hint?
All right, Chase Utley.
So Utley was batting second. Brian, batting third, was the first baseman at the time playing for the Houston Astros.
For the NL? They were the NL, I guess, back then?
Yes, correct.
Oh, God. Because I was thinking Freeman, but he was Braves, and then I guess he wasn't that good yet in the 08.
Six-time All-Star.
Six-time All-Star.
Former World Series winner.
With the Cardinals, I think, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I can't think of the name.
Oh.
Who'd you say?
I can't think of the name.
Seltzer, you know who it is. Who is it?
Lance Berkman?
Yeah, Lance Berkman. That chubby MFer.
He was good.
Big Diversa guy.
Yeah, he was good. Switch hitter.
I didn't realize it was going to be this bad at this game.
Dude, when I pulled this set up, we got some names coming up. Seltzer, next one is a third baseman batting. Or no, I'm sorry. Next one is the DH batting fourth.
It's impossible to get the DH.
I can't help you. I can't give you anything.
08.
It's 16-6.
Can you tell me what position he normally played?
No, I can't.
Oh my god.
But I feel like me not giving the hint maybe even narrow it down even more.
Maybe, but you're not in this seat, so it's probably a first baseman. You said it wasn't too Philly, so it's not Ryan Howard. I'll just say Chipper Jones. I don't think that's right.
It's not Chipper Jones. Bri, this is a guy who played first base.
Yeah.
But he played DH for the All-Star team.
Okay. Wait, what team was he on?
First baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals, Brian.
Wow.
Oh. I'm still gonna brain fart on the name because I can't.
It's not Jim Thome.
No, I know. I'm just like I have the guys in my. I know exactly what you're talking about. I just can't think of the name. Like I said, I'm horrible with these names, these baseball names.
He shares a name with one of the hosts of this show.
Is it? I don't know. I
To be
can't.
fair, I don't think you know what my full name is.
It's Albert Pujols.
What, his first or last name is Ryan?
No, his first name is Albert. My first name is Albert.
Pujols.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not awarding any points to Seltzer, and I'm deducting a point from Brian for that one. All right, Brian. Batting fifth was the third baseman from the Atlanta Braves.
third baseman for the. Oh, that's Chipper Jones.
That's Larry Chipper Jones, correct.
Yeah.
All right, Seltzer batting sixth. Was what team was he on? He was on the Rockies.
Rockies 2008. Tulowitzki?
No, good guess. Was not him. He did not make the team that year.
I know who it is. Brian,
the right fielder for the Rockies, who came runner-up in the MVP voting the year J. Roll won it.
Larry Walker?
Not Larry Walker.
It's Matt Holliday.
Matt Holliday.
Yeah.
Matt Holliday. All right, batting seventh was a Milwaukee Brewer who played left field, Bri.
Milwaukee Brewer.
And former MVP.
Yeah. Steroid scandal. Jewish.
Oh my god, dude!
He wouldn't play on the Jewish.
It's Braun or something, right?
Yeah,
Ryan Braun.
He wouldn't play on the Jewish holidays.
Yep. All right, Seltzer batting eighth. This is going to be a pull, dude. Center field for the Cubs. His only All-Star appearance.
Kosuke Fukudome.
Kosuke Fukudome is correct.
Let's go.
God.
That was a fan vote.
That was a fan vote. Yep. That's bullshit. All right. And then the 9-hole hitter, Bri, I'll give you 10 points for this one. He was the catcher for the Cubs at the time. Also his only All-Star appearance.
Did he win a Rookie of the Year?
He did.
I'm not going to get it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known this.
Giovanni Soto.
Giovanni Soto is correct. All right. And Seltzer, can you give us the pitcher that year?
08.
This guy was nasty.
Lincecum?
Not Lincecum. He was a Milwaukee Brewer.
Ben Sheets?
Ben Sheets.
I would not have got Ben Sheets without that hint.
All right. Last lineup here, guys. Leading off, Bri, Seattle Mariner. Seattle Mariner, right fielder.
Oh, Ichiro.
That's Ichiro. Correct. Batting second, Seltzer. That's all.
Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter is correct.
How about that? I'm rolling tonight. We can keep going all night with this.
Dialed in. Bri, batting third. This is a good one. Batting third was a center fielder for the Texas Rangers, who was an absolute masher, despite the fact that he was a big drug guy.
I think I know who you're talking about, too. Was he on the Tampa Bay Rays at one point in his career?
Yeah.
He was on the Angels, the Reds,
He was a prospect for the Tampa Bay, and he flamed out because of drugs. You're right. You're with that.
MVP.
Yeah, I can't think of his name. I can't remember the name.
No, you're talking about though. Who is
Josh Hamilton?
Josh Hamilton is correct. All right, Seltzer batting fourth.
I hate when you do this to me because let's go Manny Ramirez again.
Was not Manny.
It's probably his fucking partner in crime.
Bry batting fourth.
Oh,
Wait, was
yeah,
the
Red Sox, right? It was
no.
No, it's not. Okay.
The third baseman for the Yankees at the time.
Oh my God, dude. A-Rod.
A-Rod. All right, Seltzer batting fifth. Left fielder.
I'll say Manny Ramirez.
Manny Ramirez is correct. For those keeping score, 21-10. But Bry,
We're not keeping score.
oh, Bry, I don't know about these last few for you, bud. Batting sixth was the DH. At the time, played for the Texas Rangers. Shares a name with a famous game board company.
Game board company.
That clue might have fucked me up even more.
Yeah, nah, I'm not gonna get it.
Seltzer, you got one?
Give me that. What was it was a Texas Ranger.
Texas Ranger, designated hitter.
James with a board game company.
Yeah.
Yeah, that took me off. Let me. It's unlikely. Who's playing first base for that? Is it Mark Teixeira?
No, dude. Milton Bradley.
Yeah.
All right.
If it wasn't.
Seltzer, we got a Boston Red Sox batted seventh. This will be a good pull if you got this.
08. I got two guys in my head. I'll go with Pedroia.
Was not Pedroia. Bri, do you by any chance remember the first baseman for the Red Sox in 2008?
Oh, no, I can't think of
the
it.
Greek god of walks.
The Greek god of walks. He had a nickname that the Red Sox faithful used to love to yell.
Kevin Euclid.
Yeah.
All right.
Another guy.
Bri, I don't know, you might get this one. Catcher for the Twins, batted eighth.
Catcher for the Twins.
He was there forever, and he was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Hall of Famer,
former MVP, Gold Glover.
Just got in the Hall of Fame last year, I think.
Now you're making me feel bad. I don't know this guy's name.
That's all. I mean, listen, you probably haven't talked about this guy since 2008, so it's not.
That's what it is. I can't remember. I have these pictures of these guys in my head, and I just can't think of their names.
Seltzer, who is it?
Joe Mauer. And Seltzer, round us out here. Red Sox, ninth. Jacoby Ellsbury?
Not Jacoby Ellsbury. You already said his name. Second baseman.
Oh, Dustin
Pedroia. Anybody have the pitcher? The pitcher that year was playing for at the time, they were known as the Cleveland Indians. Who was the pitcher?
Brian, I'll give you first crack.
Wasn't Cliff Lee, was it?
It was Clifton Pfeiffer Lee.
What was it? I was going to go Sabathia before I went there.
Cliff Lee, yeah, very good.
Cool.
All right. Well, we didn't keep score. That was just an exhibition. So, Brian, we'll have you on again. I'll tune you up on Friday night at Cooney's. We'll get some pizza and some beers, and we'll have some practice rounds before our next go around at this.
I was gonna say I'm gonna need to dust up.
You'll probably rattle them off there.
I need to start studying up for this stuff.
Look, it's a late night. You weren't expecting when you woke up this morning to be talking about the Giovanni Sotos and the Kosuke Fukudomis.
No, I did all my research on quarterbacks, which now I wish I would have did all my research on Major League All-Stars.
And to be fair, you threw them to the wolves. Like that's right up my alley. All this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I just had no backup segment. It was
All-Star game night. It was this night of All-Star games. So you got to do it.
This or nothing.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for
joining us. This year's All-Stars. So.
At least 8 of them.
Yeah, I'd probably do a worse job at that, to be honest.
Yeah. True. I mean, they were going through the rosters today, and I was like, that guy's an All-Star. That guy's an All-Star.
Yeah.
But Listen, hope everybody enjoyed it. Brian, thanks for coming on. We
Thanks
appreciate
for
you
having me,
filling in the gap. And we'll look back at these QB tiers at the end of the year and see what we got right and what we got wrong. But until then, we're going to drop that beat.